Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to AMC Mailbag, the mailbag installment of AMC Movie News, where all we do is take your mailbag questions. My name is John Campy. I'm the editor-in-chief of AMC Movie News. And, every day on AMC Movie Talk, we take a couple of minutes at the end of the show to take some mailbag questions from you guys. But you send in so many questions that we decide on the weekends we're going to do nothing but take your mailbag questions. And that is what we are going to do today. And with AMC Movie Talk, it's the more formal, it's the new show, but Mailbag too, I like to get a little bit more informal. I like to peel the curtain back and talk about some behind-the-scenes stuff as well and things like that. And I always love getting emails from viewers, talking movies and stuff like that. But every once in a while, we get some really cool emails from people that make me really love what we do even more. I mean, for a film fan, there's nothing better than, waking up, walking, or watching and talking about movies all day. But we get these emails sometime. I remember a couple months ago getting this one email from this one gentleman. Because, movies are a great escape. That's one of the great things about movies. As a species, we have always been storytellers. We love telling and hearing stories. And that's, the greatest expression is in movies, in my opinion. And they're great escapes on top of everything else. They make us feel, they make us experience, but, they're also a great escape sometimes. And I remember I got this email from this one guy, and I won't say his name, but he had just lost his father. And he wrote to me to just say, for weeks, he was in the hospital before he passed away. And a lot of those hours, he would say, would just be me sitting on a chair, either in his room or in the hallway. And a lot of times, many hours while I was doing that, I would listen to AMC Movie Talk. And you guys help just relieve me from that. And it was something very humbling, I guess, about that not only movies, but talking about movies and things like that, too, can be a really nice escape sometimes when you just need a little bit of a break for a minute. Anyway, I bring that all up because I got this email yesterday, and once again, I won't mention the gentleman's name, but I got this email on Facebook the other day from a guy who's never written to me before. And he said, "Hello, sir. Just wanted to say thanks for all you do. I've recently been through a tough patch. But before bed, I listen to Movie Talk, and I get into it, and for a brief moment, forget about stuff. You guys rock. Keep up the great work. Thanks for everything." And it's just really cool hearing messages like that. And I didn't know how to talk about that. So forgive me if I'm not really communicating it well or expressing it right. I'm sure I'm expressing it wrong and I'm coming across wrong, but whatever. But just to say that type of stuff is really moving to me. And I love it, and it just really highlights, again, the magic of the movies. That movies and talking about movies and just engaging with other people on topics that we share a love for can be really great sometimes. And I just wanted to say to everybody who's written us messages like that, thank you so much, not just for allowing us the privilege of being a part of your day to help with stuff like that, but also thank you so much for sharing your experience with me. And it's humbling and it's touching. And like I said, I'm sure I'm expressing this the wrong way and it's coming across totally wrong, but thank you so much. And so in that spirit, we're going to talk some movies today, movie questions. I'm going to remind you guys, I'm actually getting pretty excited about Comic-Con this year. And not because of who's going to be there or whatever, but, AMC Movie Talk, we've gone every year. And we've always done some stuff, and this year is no different. We're going to be doing the Masters of the Web panel this year. Please make sure to come. If you're coming to Comic-Con, come to our Masters of the Web panel. But we're also going to do a meet and greet this year. We did a meet and greet last year in the bar lounge of the Omni Hotel, and we were just blown away by how many of you guys came by to say hi and all that kind of stuff. Pardon me, and all that kind of stuff. I'm drunk. No, I just drank water the wrong way. Anyway, how many of you guys came by to say hi? We're going to be doing it again this year. We're expecting more people to come this year, which should be a lot of fun. We cannot wait, because one of my favorite things about doing AMC Movie News is getting to meet and interact with fellow viewers of the show. And we're also going to be doing come and meet us on the floor of Comic-Con. We're going to actually do and if you want our autographs, we're going to have things to autograph for you and give you and take your picture with Schnepp, or take your picture with Amy Rose or Dennis or, Christian, or a lot of the crew of AMC are going to be there. So if you want to come by and meet and get your picture with them, they're going to be available for that. So we got a lot going on this year that I'm really excited about, and I can't wait for it. Actually, I'm really really pumped. All right, it's mailbag. So let's actually get to some mailbag questions and talk about some movie stuff. So we're going to start with this. Going to question number one, and question number one today comes to us from Jesse Hernandez, and Jesse writes. Hey, AMC movie crew, you guys have been doing a phenomenal job. Keep up the great work. Thank you. And I'm very impressed you could spell phenomenal because I misspell it all the time. Maybe it is misspelled. I don't know. My question is there a movie at the end that made you shed a tear or made you have an emotional moment? Mine was by far Schindler's List ending with Liam Neeson. What is yours? Well, Jesse, thank you so much for the question. Mine, I have just a very, very select few number of movies that have ever made me cry. And only two that I can think of off the top of my head that really made me cry at the end of the movie. And they're two very, very different films. But the first one is Life is Beautiful. The Italian film by Roberto Benigni. It won a bunch of Oscars. That year was out. I believe Benigni might have won either director of the year or actor of the year. I can't remember which one, but Roberto Benigni, best actor. Roberto Benigni won best actor that year. I believe that's the one he won. And it won a number of awards and a huge amount of accolades. And if you have not seen, if you're one of these people living in a shell that refuses to watch movies with subtitles, get over yourself. Okay, and I say that in love. Get over yourself and treat yourself to some masterpieces, including Life is Beautiful. Life is Beautiful is about this film. It's a wonderful contradiction of environments. It's this movie about this guy who's kind of he's very lighthearted and he's the clown. I mean, he's wonderful, and it's played by Roberto Benigni. And they live in Italy during the time of the Second World War, and when the Nazis were coming and taking over. Anyway, he's also Jewish in the movie, and he meets the love of his life, and they get married. He marries his dream girl, and they have a son, and he loves nothing in the world more than his son. And as the Nazis begin, basically taking over everything, and eventually round up Roberto Benigni and his family and put them in concentration camps, he takes it upon himself to protect his son from the harsh reality of what's happening to them, because he always wants his son to know that despite all these terrible things are happening, that life is beautiful, because that's the way he's lived his life, and he's enjoyed every moment of his life. So even though they're in the prisons and the concentration camp, what he does is he convinces his little boy, his son, that this is all a big game and they're trying to win a game, and that these guys in these uniforms, they have to act really mean and tough, and then it's all about who can hang on to the end, and then you get a big prize. And so he convinces his son that it's all a game. And it sounds ridiculous the way I'm explaining it, but as you're watching it, it's one of the most touching and beautiful things you've ever seen. Anyway, without spoiling the movie, the end of this movie, I've told this story before, but I watched Life is Beautiful for the first time in a little movie theater in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. And there were a number of bikers in there that they decided they want to go see this movie. And I kid you not, bikers were crying at the end of that movie. And I was crying at the end of that movie. It is so spectacular. The movie is so good. That I've yet to see somebody not moved by it when they watch it. It's incredible. So I highly recommend you go out and see Life is Beautiful. The other one that made me cry at the end, and everybody always mocks me for this, and I accept that. I accept the mocking that I get for this next movie that I cry at the end for, because I deserve it. I deserve the mocking, so be it. The 1995 96, 97. I can't remember what year the film came out. But it is the little romantic comedy with Julia Roberts. And what was the name of that movie? It was My Best Friend's Wedding, 1997 film, My Best Friend's Wedding, with Julia Roberts, Dermot Mulroney, Cameron Diaz, Rupert Everett. It has a great cast. Anyway, the end of that movie, Julia Roberts is at the wedding of her best friend, who it's a guy, and she's been trying to actually win him because she's in love with him. So even though she's been invited to be his like best man or maid of honor at the wedding, he's actually she's been trying to undermine the wedding and trying to win him over. And by the end of the film, spoiler alert, she doesn't win him over. And the film ends at the wedding, Dermot Mulroney's wedding. And she's happy for him and everything, but she's also very sad. And she calls her friend on the phone, Rupert Everett, played by Rupert Everett, who is, cross country. And she calls him just to share, because she needs some support at that moment. And he answers the phone, and then you realize he was there at the wedding too. And his character's, there wasn't a love romance because his character's gay in the film. But that moment, I don't know why. I get choked up in films by really grand expressions of loyalty and friendship. Like more than romance or more than tragedy, and those things can move me too, but they never really move me to tears. Nothing gets me choked up more in a movie than grand expressions of loyalty and friendship, maybe because those are the things I value most. But when you realize that he knew his friend, Julia Roberts, was hurting, and so he got on a plane and flew across the country and was there, physically there, just because she would need a shoulder to lean on. And she gets on the phone and he answers, and then she looks up and he realizes he's standing across the room. And I broke. I started to some tears welling up in my eyes. So yes, I cried at the end of my best friend's wedding. You may begin sending in the mockery. Send it in. I will let it wash over me like a soothing oil. But yeah, I cried at the end of my best friend's wedding. So those are the films that I cried at the end. And now there are a very select few other films that I've also, gotten teary-eyed in. But as far as your question goes, that at the end, those are the ones that made me cry at the end. All right. Let's move on to the next question now. And the next question today comes to us from Bernie Palafox, who writes, "Hey guys, love the show. Keep up the amazing work. My question is this. Do you think that Dawn of Justice," that's the title for the new Batman vs. Superman. It's Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. That's what he's talking about. Do you think that Dawn of Justice will have a chance of being released in 2015 instead of 2016? Because from the rumors and details, filming has begun, and I believe it wouldn't take long to finish this film. Plus, if it doesn't get released, or if it does get released, 2015, it could very well become the greatest year ever for comic book films. Well, thank you very much for the question, Bernie. And you're right. Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice is already filming. And remember, it was originally supposed to come out in the summer of 2015. It was supposed to come out about a year from now, and they're already filming it. But then they bumped it and moved it to, I believe it was May 6th or May 8th of 2016. But here's the issue. Now you're asking, is it possible it could come out in 2015? I don't think so, because the issue is not whether they will have the film done in time. I believe they will have the film done in time to release in 2015. Actually, I'm completely positive they would have the film done in time to release in 2015, probably even in the summer of 2015. I have no doubt they could have it done, and they probably will have it done by then. But that makes the assumption that the key determining factor in when a movie gets released is will it be done. Remember, a lot of times films finish and then they sit in a can on a shelf somewhere for like 2 or 3 years. A good example of that is Chris Hemsworth's film. It was the remake of the Red Dawn. That was it. It was the remake of the Patrick Swayze film. Red Dawn. It was a film that was done, finished, in the can, and then sitting on a shelf for years. Same thing with another Chris Hemsworth film, Cabin in the Woods, the one produced by Joss Whedon. And by the way, contrary to popular belief, Joss Whedon did not direct Cabin in the Woods. He was just the writer and one of the producers on it, and one of the writers. But that film was done ages before it finally got released. Ages before it got released, and it sat on a shelf. Really, the key determining factor, and sure, when will they be finished with the movie is part of it, but one of the other key determining factors is when the studio thinks would be the best time to release it in order to position it to have the maximum amount of success that it can have. And for whatever reason, the people at Disney, or not people at Disney, I'm sorry, the people at Warner Brothers decided that they think the best release date, because it was supposed to come out in 2015. They had a date and everything. So one day they thought, this is the best date for us to release it. And they said they were going to release it in summer 2015. And then later they said, no, wait, this is the best day to release it. And they changed it to May 2016. And that's fine. May or March, one of the two. That's fine. It's about when they feel releasing the film gives it its best chance to maximize its success. And if they felt, looking at the dates and what was coming out and what was around it, that releasing it in 2016 was the best day to release it, then it doesn't really matter when the film is finished shooting. Now, it's also very curious that they decided to put it on the same day that Marvel was releasing a film. And now we know that film is Captain America 3. So I don't know how the brain trust at Warner Brothers, and they are very smart people over there. I'm not trying to disparage them. I'm saying that they're the brain trust. I don't know how the brain trust of Warner Brothers figures that they can maximize their success by opening their film on the same day as Marvel is releasing Captain America 3. Don't get me wrong. Batman vs. Superman will make more money than Captain America 3. But Captain America 3 is going to carve into Batman vs. Superman's box office. I can't imagine how they think that Batman vs. Superman is going to make more money releasing on the same day as a Marvel Captain America film. I mean, that's insanity. So, one of these, I still believe one of those two studios will move dates. They cannot release on the same day. But Marvel is digging in their heels. They're saying, we ain't moving. DC doesn't, they've shown some cracks in their armor that, we're still figuring it out. So maybe they'll move. But one of them's got to move because it's not good for either of them. So anyway. All right, let us move on to the next question. And the next question today comes to us from Raz Abrahamyan. Okay. Raz Abrahamyan writes, "Hi guys, I love the show. I was wondering, how do you decide for yourself whether a movie is a perfect 10 or not? Say, if you absolutely loved a certain film, does it mean that it's a 10? Does it depend on the genre as well? Thanks and keep up the great work." Well, thanks a lot for the question, Raz. And it's funny because this kind of came up the other day. We did our AMC spoilers review of X-Men Days of Future Past, which I'm losing my mind over. It was so great. It's the best movie of the year for me so far. I liked it more than Captain America 2, and everybody knows how much I flipped over Captain America 2. I like it more than Lego Movie, and everybody knows how much I went crazy for Lego Movie. I liked it more than Chef. I like it more than, Edge of Tomorrow. I like it more than any other film that's come out this year. And whereas a number of the panel, I think 3 out of the 5 of us on the AMC Movie News spoilers panel gave the film a 10, I gave it a 9.5. Because here's the thing to me. I believe that people throw out 10 way too loosely. Oh, I really like that. 10. Oh, that movie's really good. 10. Oh, that was really great. 10. And they start throwing out 10s. And I believe that when you start throwing out 10s like crazy and you start giving out 10s all the way around, then the term 10 out of 10 or whatever your score is, 20 out of 20, 10 out of 10, whatever, when you start handing it out like candy on Halloween, I believe the term 10 loses its meaning. It's like, a young girl in high school, your boyfriend tells you, I love you. That's great. But that means something if he's only told like 1 or 2 other people in his life that before. But when he's told 7 other girls that just this year, saying I love you doesn't really mean that much, does it? It's not that rare of a thing. It's not that precious of a thing. It's not that valuable of a thing because it's been handed out to every girl in school so far. So it loses its meaning. And I believe the same thing is true of people who just throw out 10s, 10, 10, 10. Everything's a 10. If you really like it, you just give it a 10. And I don't think that way. And so for me, a movie, look, no film is perfect. No film is perfect. But for me, It's not even coming up with a weakness. Because I've had a couple of movies where I could sit back and go, you know what? I cannot see any weaknesses in this film. It's just a great film. I saw nothing wrong with it. There was nothing bad about this film. And I still wouldn't give it a 10. Because to me, a 10 is not just the lack of a glaring error. A 10 is also me looking at something and going, you know what? The humor was a strong point in this film, but it could have been funnier. Even though it was very funny, it could have been funny. I felt like it could have been funnier. The action in this film was top notch, but I couldn't help but feel that even though it was really good and it's a big positive of the movie, I couldn't help but feel that the action in this could have been a bit better. I think there were avenues here where that they could have easily made the action a little bit better. I love the dramatic tension in this. The dramatic tension is a positive for this movie. But I also feel like I've seen several other examples this year of dramatic tension that was done even better. So I think it could have done a bit better in that. So for me, it's not just the lack of something negative. It's also the idea that it maximized its strengths at the same time. So let's say with X-Men First Class, for example, I thought the humor was great. I thought the story was magnificent. I thought the action was solid. I thought all that kind of stuff. I can't really give you any big glaring errors in that film. But I can say while the action was awesome and I enjoyed it very much, I do believe they could have given us one or two more action beats in the film. I do feel like for an X-Men film that even though the action was awesome and it was beautifully balanced, I do feel like it could have used a little bit more action. I felt like we could have used a little bit more character development with one or two of the characters, even though the character development in the movie was awesome. So, but those are some of the things that are in my head as I come out of the theater. And I think that's an awesome movie. It's my favorite of the year, 9.5. And some people, heard that I said 9.5 for X-Men Days of Future Past, and they're like, why, John, what's wrong? Why didn't you love the film? I gave it a 9.5 out of 10. Why are you asking me why I didn't love the film? Clearly, I loved the film. Clearly, I revere this film. I gave it a 9.5 out of 10. But the thing is, we're in a society and a culture where everybody throws out 10 so much that at the moment you say anything under a 10, people think you didn't like the movie. Heavens, if I walk in a movie that I really enjoyed, I really liked that. That was a good movie. I give that a 7. To me, a 7 is an honor. A 7 is me saying, I honor this film because 7's good. That's like, middle of the road is a 5, 6, 7. 7's good. But I've given some movies like a 7.5 out of 10, which is me going, hey, I like this film. This is a really good film. You should go out see it, 7.5. And I've had people go, why is Campia hating on this movie? Hey, hating on this movie? I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Anyway, so that's the thing. So that for me is not just the lack of really glaring negatives, but also feeling like they really met their own full potential in their strengths. So for me, that's when I give films a 10. And I've given less in all the years that I've been doing like film punditry. I've given less than 110 per year. So I've probably given. I keep forgetting whether it's 5 or 6. At the maximum, I've given 7 in my life. 7 10s. Now, we're not including movies that were around that I worship long before I ever started blogging about movies. So I'm not talking about Godfathers, and I'm not talking about Ben-Hur's, and I'm not talking about Lawrence of Arabia, and I'm not talking about all those films. I'm just talking about the films in the last, say, 10 or 11 years since I've been reviewing films. I've probably only given 5 or 6 10s. So anyway, that's it for me. So let's move on to the next question today. And the next question today comes to us from Kevin. And Kevin writes, hey guys, love the show. You guys rock. Well, thank you so much, Kevin. My question is, due to history being changed, and I had to change his email because his question had a spoiler in it. So I've changed it a little bit. So anyway, my question is, due to history being changed, is it possible that Wolverine won't have adamantium in the beginning of X-Men Apocalypse? Now, for those of you who don't know, X-Men Apocalypse is the next film in the X-Men franchise that I believe is scheduled to come out in 2016. Anyway, is it possible he won't have the adamantium in the beginning of X-Men Apocalypse and is given adamantium by Apocalypse when he makes him Death, who is one of the 4 horsemen, like in the comics? Well, thanks a lot for the question, Kevin. So for those of you who don't really have a grasp of what he's talking about, and only us sweaty nerds do, in the comic books, Apocalypse has his four horsemen. He always has his four horsemen. And throughout the history of the comics, there have been a lot of different characters that have been different members of his four horsemen, a lot of them. And at one point, one of them was Wolverine. Wolverine was his horseman of death. So the question he's asking is, well, since, history's been changed, and will Wolverine have his adamantium be given to him by Apocalypse to make him death? Because Apocalypse has also mutated other mutants to suit his needs, like Angel, the X-Men Angel. For a long time, Angel was death. And what Apocalypse did was Apocalypse removed Angel's wings and gave him these wings made out of razor blades. He has wings of razors, basically. So Apocalypse has adapted and moderated his own horsemen to suit his needs. So the question is, do we think Wolverine will get his adamantium from Apocalypse? I don't think so. I think Wolverine has his adamantium already, and here's why. And those of you who haven't seen X-Men Days of Future Past, you may not understand the answer I'm about to give, but I'm going to try to give it in such a way that it doesn't actually reveal a spoiler yet. But so in the film, in X-Men Days of Future Past, Hank McCoy, Beast, remember that one scene where he says, there's a theory in physics that says time is like a flowing river, that you can try to change it. You can throw a rock into a river and it will create ripples and waves, but ultimately the river corrects itself and keeps flowing in the direction it was going to go. And what Hank McCoy was trying to say in the film was that history and time are unchangeable. He said, so we can go back in time and try to stop this from happening, and we stop it from happening, but eventually it'll happen again anyway, because time will correct itself, and history and fate and all these things are just going to go in that direction. Now, Charles rejects that notion, all that kind of stuff, but I believe that there's going to be an element of that in the X-Men universe where Wolverine is still, even though history was changed, at some point Wolverine still gets his adamantium anyway, probably from William Stryker. But your theory is a very solid theory. That maybe the way that time corrects itself is that it's Apocalypse who gives him his adamantium. That is totally feasible. That is a totally valid, solid theory. I personally think he's still going to get it from Stryker, but I will not fall over from surprise if your theory is correct and they actually get it. He gets it from Apocalypse. It's a really good theory. All right, let's move on to the next question today. And the next question today comes to us from Wiggins Terrence, who writes, question, I really like the way the Marvel Cinematic Universe has come together and continues to expand beyond Phase 1, Phase 2, and now Phase 3. John, do you think that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is at the same level of respect and recognition of what the Star Wars franchise did in the late 70s, early 80s with episodes 4, 5, and 6? Thoughts? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The Star Wars, everybody knows how much, and I'm going to just look up some stats here. Everybody knows how much I love the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's had some hiccups. It has absolutely had some hiccups. I thought Iron Man 2 was a major hiccup. I thought, Iron Man 2 is the biggest weakness to me. That's the one real weak one. But at the same time, it's just overall, it's just a great cinematic universe. I still believe Avengers is the best comic book adaptation movie of all time. I know a good number of people like to think it's The Dark Knight. I think as an overall movie-going experience, I think the Avengers topped it. Certainly, Dark Knight does some things better than Avengers does. Avengers does some things better than The Dark Knight does. But I think overall, the overall movie-going experience for me, the best is Avengers. But you also have to remember with Star Wars wasn't just respected. It was a worldwide cultural phenomena. I mean, it was a worldwide cultural shift that Star Wars created. You have an entire generation now of filmmakers who point to Star Wars as being the film that got them into filmmaking, that made them want to make the movies, that made them want to do this magic that George Lucas gave us. Star Wars changed culture. It did. Star Wars changed culture. And it has stood the test of time for 40 years, nearly, of being that culture. Like every popular pop culture show today will reference Star Wars at some time, whether it's they're referencing Vader or R2 or these are the droids you're looking for or that's no moon. You'll hear these quotes in every movie practically at some point. It's just that influential. It shaped an entire generation of film fans. It is the film responsible for me being on the path in life that I'm on. But not just that. I mean, Star Wars, when it came out, it won 1, 2, 3, art direction, costume, sound design, film editing, visual effects, best music, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The original Star Wars, Episode 4, won 6, might have been 7, but I think it was 6 Academy Awards. Or actually 7. It won 7 Academy Awards because Ben Burt got a special award for his work in sound. But then it was also nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars. It was nominated for Best Supporting Actor with Alec Guinness. It was nominated for Best Director with George Lucas. And it was nominated for Best Screenplay with George Lucas. So it won 6. It was nominated for 10. Or 9 or 10. That's just how big and culturally shifting of a movie Star Wars was. And this was a genre film. Getting nominated for 10 Academy Awards, winning 6, including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Screenplay. Obviously, it won a lot of the technical things. It won Best Sound, Best Music, Best Visual Effects, Best Art Direction, Best Editing. It's just a masterpiece of a film. So, do I think that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is on the par of respect and influence and importance of Star Wars? No. No, but that's no knock against the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Everybody knows how much I love the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But no, it ain't on that level. It just ain't on that level, not just yet. All right, let's move on to the next question today. And the next question today comes to us from Nick Burlingham, I believe. Hope I'm pronouncing it right. And Nick writes, I was wondering if you think it is okay for a director to recut a film many years later after its initial release, which changes the story or the characters in the film from what we know and love. I know that directors use the excuse that due to better technology or a bigger budget, they are releasing the movie that they wanted to make in the first place. But I think that they should respect their original work and leave it as it is. Thanks a lot for the question, Nick. And clearly, we are talking, speaking of Star Wars, we are talking about one director in particular and one movie in particular. And I'm sure it's been done again by others. But the most prominent example of this is George Lucas, having decades later taken the original Star Wars films and tinkering with them. That's the kind word I'll use, tinkering with them. Changing scenes, improving the visual effects, cleaning up the video image, but adding new CG characters and doing all this kind of stuff. Essentially, in many ways, kind of changing the film. So the question is, should they do this? And really, here's the thing. I do not like the changes made. I mean, for the most part, the cleaned up visual effects, a lot of stuff in Mos Eisley Space Station is really cool that they added. But the new Jabba the Hutt music scene, rock band scene, that was awful. I like that they put Jabba the Hutt digitally in it. Actually, I do. I really do like that scene. I think it adds to it. But adding in Boba Fett and then changing the end of Return of the Jedi by taking out that great tribal song that the Ewoks played and replacing it with that pan flute musical score nonsense. I mean, I don't like it. Even though there were some changes that were for the better, overall, I didn't like that George Lucas tinkered with it. But that being said, I've always defended this. It's George Lucas's film. It's his movie. And if he wants to go back and change it, if he wants to change it and say, hey guys, here's the new special edition of Star Wars where Luke's shot misses at the end and the Death Star doesn't blow up and it ends up destroying the Rebel base. If he wants to do that, totally change the movie It's his prerogative. I don't know that it's his prerogative anymore because he doesn't own it anymore. But historically, that's always been my argument is that, look, it's his movie. It's his. He's not just the director. He owns it. He's the head of the studio that made it. He's the man. And it's his. It's his property. And if he wants to make Chewbacca a talking squirrel, and if he wants to make Boba Fett be played by Justin Bieber now, and if he wants to do it, it's his prerogative. He can do it. And it doesn't matter. I mean, I don't like it, but I still have my original Star Wars DVDs. And yes, I do have the originals on DVD. Hard to find, but I got them. I still have the original. So George can go ahead and mess it up and do whatever he wants to do. That is his prerogative. He has every right to do it, and I will defend his right to do it. But that being said, I don't like it myself, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. George can put out 45 new special editions of Star Wars. It don't matter. I still got my original DVDs, and that's all that matters to me. That's all that counts. So, yeah, they should have the right to do it, as a matter of fact, to go out and recut their films as much or as little as they want. That's their prerogative, and I defend that. Doesn't mean we have to like it, but if they do, it doesn't matter, because that's the great thing about home video. We've got the originals, so we can still enjoy. Kind of like the same feelings I have about remakes. I'm totally cool with doing remakes. Don't bother me if you want to do a remake. I still got the original. If your remake is great, like The Departed, which is a remake of Infernal Affairs, then awesome. And I love The Departed. But even if The Departed sucked, doesn't matter. I still got Infernal Affairs. So it doesn't matter. And I think people should adopt that mentality. Me and Amy Rose debate this all the time. All right, let's go on to the last question of the day. And the last question today comes to us from Joe Johnson, who writes, "Hello, AMC Movie Talkers. I really enjoy watching the show every day, and I think you guys are doing a great job." Well, thanks so much, Joe. I appreciate that. My question is about the new Beauty and the Beast remake from Disney. I have always thought that if Disney remade Beauty and the Beast, that Anne Hathaway would be the perfect fit for Belle. What do you guys think about this? And if not Anne Hathaway, who would you want to play Belle? Thanks, and keep up the great work. Well, I'm not going to answer the question, if not Anne Hathaway, who? Because, I mean, you could throw out any number of names and whatever. So I'm not going to address that part. But on the surface, I really do like the Anne Hathaway name for two very specific reasons. Three, actually. Belle's name means beauty. It's no wonder that her name means beauty. Her looks have got no parallel. Anyway. Do you want me to do that again? No. Okay, so Belle is supposed to be just naturally, stunningly beautiful. And Anne Hathaway is just one of the most purely beautiful women in the world. She's just gorgeous. She's so beautiful. So there's that. Anne Hathaway is a remarkable actress. And that's the most important thing. But she is a remarkable Academy Award-winning actress. And will win another one before it's all said and done. But more importantly, what we learned in Les Mis is that Anne Hathaway can sing, son. Anne Hathaway can sing. And if you're going to do a live-action remake of the Disney Beauty and the Beast, it's got to be musical, and you got to have her singing. And she fits all three of those criteria. She's a great singer, she's a remarkable actress, and she's stunningly beautiful. She is, in many ways, the perfect Belle. That being said, I'm going to say I wouldn't cast her as Belle. And the main reason, and the only real reason that I wouldn't cast her as Belle is the fact that I feel like she's now a little too old for Belle. Belle, I picture being 19 or 20 years old. Whereas Anne Hathaway is now 32, 33. She's still a very young woman, but Belle I see as a 19, 20-year-old. And I just don't know that Anne Hathaway now looks like a woman. She doesn't look like a teenage girl anymore. She looks like a woman. And that's a good thing. But, you know, people think, well, no, John, look at her in Devil Wears Prada. She could totally want to feel old? Devil Wears Prada was 8 years ago. And so I think you're taking a real departure from the character by saying it's an older character. I think Belle should be like 18, 19, 20, maybe 21 when you really look at the story. She's still a young girl living in the care of her father. And so I think Anne Hathaway's a little too old. Now, don't get me wrong. If tomorrow Disney announces, if I open my email and my Disney PR guy has sent me an email saying, Anne Hathaway cast as Belle in the upcoming Beauty and the Beast, I'm going to be damn excited for it. I'm going to be damn happy because of those other 3 reasons. Remarkably beautiful, ridiculously talented, and she can sing. So it pretty much makes her the prototype for who should play Belle. My only hesitation would be because of her age. But if they were to do it, they can make it work. I'm sure they can make it work. All right, folks. Well, that'll do it for today's installment of AMC Mailbag. Thank you so much for joining me today. Listen, don't forget, this is a great time to go and check out some amazing movies playing at AMC Theaters. Just head on over to www.amctheaters.com for all your theater, showtime, and, of course, your movie ticket information. Don't forget, if you're not a subscriber to AMC Movie News, click on the subscribe button. Become a subscriber to our YouTube channel, and that'll keep you up to date on everything going on in the world of movie news, including AMC spoilers, AMC Versus, our daily AMC movie talk show, our weekend AMC mailbag show. Just subscribe to our channel. And do me a favor, if you like this show, click that thumbs up button for us, just as a way of communicating to us that you like the show. We really appreciate it. And by the way, if you want an audio-only version of this show, look in the description of this video and you'll find a link for our RSS feed link for our audio-only podcast, so you can just listen to us on the way to work or whatever. So that'll do it for me, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. And this weekend I am doing it alone. Amy Rose is off on a family thing. Dennis is doing production at the annual Hollywood Produced By conference put on by the Producers Guild of America. Schnepp is off at the Phoenix Comic-Con. Christian's doing so. Anyway, everybody's busy, so it's just me this weekend. So thanks a lot for hanging in there with me and putting up with just me. So until next time, my name's John Campia for AMC Movie News. And until then, bye-bye.